Oh, hey, didn't see you there. What do you say we talk about LG TVs and an LG TV software update? Welcome into the video, welcome into the channel. Hope everyone is doing well out there. And man, I'm excited to be doing content on this display you're looking at because, well, I've done a lot of content on my channel over the last almost 2 years now with this display, and I've really enjoyed my time with it. But going to cover a few things here right up front before I dive into the video here. Number one, if you're new to my channel, what you're looking at on the screen is a 77-inch LG C2 here in my game room. Number two, if you press play on this video, it might be because you're looking for some info on an LG software update that has maybe been pushed to your display. And that software update is going to be 13.30.80, and that is going to be applicable to the C2 and the G2 lineup. And there's a third one listed in there that I have never heard of in my life. I believe it's called the LX. So if you have an LX version of the LG TV, this is also applicable to you. And those sizes for that particular model are only going to be in the 42, 48, and 55-inch sizes. Now that that's out of the way, man, it's really great to be doing content with this display again. And some of you on the channel might even be surprised I still have it. With all the great display technology that has come out since 2022, you might be surprised that I'm still holding on to this thing as my primary gaming display. But I'm thinking about doing a separate video on this, kind of going over some of my favorite things about this display and some of my least favorite things about this display. If you'd be interested in that, be sure to hit the like button or leave me a comment, let me know, and I'll put that video together for you. What I typically do next is I like to manually install the update on my display. And the reason why I like to do that in these videos is because I want to show you if there are any complications during the installation process, and that will allow you to make an educated decision on whether you even want to install this update if you see on my video that it does, say, crash the TV, or maybe it breaks a big feature upon installation. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be doing that today, and here's why. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First thing, let me go ahead and take the the good old magic remote here that LG has been putting out for 100 years now. Let me go ahead and press and hold that settings button, and slowly it's going to pull up the menu here. Let me go to support, software update, and what I want to show you is right here on software version. Notice how it says 04.40.93. I'm on this firmware version number because that's the last software version you can have on an LG C2 or an LG G2 where you could keep the old service menu the way it came with the TV. And let me show you what I'm talking about. And if you're not familiar with the service menu and all that fun stuff, I have plenty of videos on the channel, talking about the service menu and some of the things you can do with it. And what you're going to need to access the service menu on an LG display is one of these cheap ass LG service remotes like this here that you can get off of Amazon for about 10 bucks. What you're going to need to do is press the in start button, which is right here. So I'm going to do that now. It's going to ask for a password. That's going to be 0413. And what you're looking at right here is the 100% main reason why I have not updated my software version past 04.40.93, because the very next software version that came out after this one was called 13.30.56. And what that brought with it was the newer WebOS, and in turn, the lockdown service menu. And you might be saying, well, what's so cool about going into the service menu? Like what's in there that I would even care to look at? There are two settings in this particular part of the menu that have a direct impact on your overall viewing experience when it comes to HDR content, HDR gaming, pretty much anything you're going to be watching on display that looks worth a damn. The two settings I'm talking about are called TPC enable and GSR enable. By turning these two things off, you now have taken full control over what's something called ASBL dimming. And if you don't know what ASBL dimming is, and if you care to know anything about ASBL dimming, leave a comment. I may do a short video just talking about what ASBL dimming is, and in turn what ABL is as well. These are the two kind of buzzwords when it comes to OLED technology. Anyway, I'm going on way too much on a side tangent. My whole point for this was to show you that I'm still on a firmware version, is the last one where you can have access to this version of the service menu. And if you're somebody that has found my channel and you have a C3, a G3, or C4, G4, etc., I'm sorry to report you don't have access to that service menu the way I just showed it to you. However, you could still find your way to that part of the service menu, but you have to jump through way more hoops. And I'm going to tell you up front right now, if you're somebody who just picked up a brand spanking new C4 and you're ready to hop into the service menu and turn off all that damn dimming, I've got news for you. You can do it. You can be creative and do it, but I'm going to let you know you're going to have some hurdles to jump through every single day you turn on the display to keep the dimming turned off. Now that that's out of the way, what this video really is about is software update 13.30.80. So I just wanted to have a little fun, do a little content for old time's sake here on the C2, because this update is in reference to the C2 and in turn the G2 as well, but I will not be installing software update 13.30.80 on my C2 because, well, I want to still have access to that service menu the way it's shipped with the TV, and I will not be moving this TV forward. And I'd say it's very likely that this display will never see a firmware version number past 04.40.93. So with that being said, the next thing I'm going to do here in the video is I'm going to show you what does come with software update 13.30.80, and I'll also make a recommendation on whether you should install the update. Now we're at the fun part of the video, right? I couldn't even install it on my TV. Well, I could, but I'm not going to. So can't really show you if it's going to mess up your TV during installation, so sorry about that, but I've already shared my reasons why I am not moving forward to this version. But let's dive into what actually comes with this update, and I'm going to have 3 things to mention here, one of which is no longer being put on the LG page as something to consider before installing this update, but I'm going to leave it on this because I find it very unlikely that this particular policy of theirs has changed. But what I'm referring to is once you've installed this particular update, you can't go backwards. So unfortunately, if you install this update and it breaks a major feature that you're used to having on the TV and it's no longer working correctly, you can't go backwards. So I'm going to continue to leave that here until I find out otherwise that you can go backwards, but I find it highly unlikely that we're ever going to get that. Anyhow, the other 2 things we got with this update are improvement and fixing minor bugs in software. While this update certainly doesn't sound like anything fun, if you're somebody who's been sitting on that last firmware version for quite a while now, and you've been having a lot of weird stuff going on with your display, your audio's not working correctly, you're getting some connectivity issues, whatever it is, you might have been really like chomping at the bit for an update to come out like this, hoping it'll fix it. But I'm always curious to know what issues you guys are having on your displays. Leave me some comments below. Share what model of display you have and share the issues that you have going on as well as what firmware version you're on. I'd be curious to know what's going on with your displays and, just for comparison's sake to mine. One of the things I find most interesting doing these videos and interacting with you all is that all of us can be on the exact same firmware version number on our display, and not all of us will have the same bugs and errors and problems as the next person. It's kind of interesting to me. But anyway, all right, up next, I'm going to go ahead and make my recommendation on whether you should install software update 13.30.80 once your display prompts you whether you want to do it or not. And I'm actually going to lean towards not installing this update, and here's why. This particular update, after waiting for quite a while between firmware updates, didn't bring any new features or anything fun to look at. So I believe that if your current firmware on your display is working well enough, I'm not going to say perfectly because pretty much none of them are perfect, but if it's working well enough, you're not having any major issues or anything annoying you, and it's just working on a day-to-day basis, I would say stay away from this unless you have some kind of big concern when it comes to security. A lot of times, these TV manufacturers do these sort of updates that include updated security parameters and things. So if you're somebody who uses the WebOS for all your TV consumption, you log into your apps there and you have security concerns, you don't want to be behind on a firmware, worried about someone hacking into your TV, then by all means. But from a pure content consumption basis here, I would recommend you not install the update until it's determined what sort of things are broken, because more often than not, I find when they send out these firmware updates, they're breaking certain features whether you realize it or not, because maybe it's something you don't really use very often. So that's going to do it for this video. Like I say at the end of all these videos, with all that being said, until the next one.